question for me from my class?
Yes.
What is your view of race and why is it an important factor to you?
I believe that there is no such thing as race. The only race that exists is the human race. Race is actually a proxy for class, meaning it stands in the place of class. People use race to classify people into groups. If there is no race, people would still use class to distinguish between the groups and make some more superior than others. It is inevitable. Race actually is not an important factor to me. It makes people judge you by the color of your skin and get preconceived notions of who they think you are, but in actuality, they do not know. People's biases control how they view certain races, and race just makes it difficult for this nation to become one.
Thank you. What gender do you identify with? What conflicts with gender identity do you see in the community? And are there certain double standards that trouble you?
The gender I choose to identify with is female. I'm aware that there are a plethora of genders that go beyond the options of male and female, which can cause certain people to struggle with their gender identity. Conflicts with gender identity I see in my community, specifically my college community, is when I see certain individuals that cross-dress, and it is difficult to find their niche in the campus community because of bigotry and ignorance. Certain double standards that trouble me in this campus community is the view of women being sluts if they pursue their sexual interest.
Very true. What influence does sex and love have on your life?
Love and sex affects everyone's life. Alcibiades says that love is the desire to feel exceptional in your lover's eyes and the desire to get your lover to love you back. The trick about love is that you want your lover to, under his or her free will, to love you back. Love is a tough topic. It is hard to tell someone you love them for the fact that you are making yourself vulnerable. It is even harder when they do not love you back, and according to Alcibiades, when you love someone and they do not love you in return, it makes you desire and love them even more.
Thank you. How are women objectified, and what response by feminists have you seen?
Women are objectified in pornography. In these films, the women are objects for the men, and this limits their autonomy. There are good aspects of objectification as well as bad. If a woman lies on her lover's stomach while he's asleep, she has objectified him to be her pillow. But this is not done negatively. She has assumed his consent based on their relationship and has taken none of his autonomy away. What feminists tend to focus on when it comes to the objectification is the course of the porn industry, which is laden with images of women who appear to be objectifying themselves and giving up their autonomy for all the world to see. They emphasize the pornography that appears, or in some cases, physically harmful to the women involved. These specifics are usually the main points of their argument.
What is environmental racism, and where have you seen examples of this?
Good question. Environmental racism is racial discrimination in environmental policy, making the enforcement of regulations and laws. It is also any government, institutional, or industry action or failure to act that has a negative environmental impact, which disproportionately harms individuals based on race or color. Groups that are affected by environmental racism in the United States is African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, Asians, and Pacific Islanders. An example of environmental racism is farm workers that work on crops located in New Mexico that are treated with toxic pesticides, and pesticide exposure can cause death.
That's terrible. When you think of poverty, what comes to mind?
When I think of poverty, I think of the groups of people that are invisible because the media does not show who they really are. If you think about it, the poor are invisible because the media highlights the rich and the wealthy and their accomplishments. When you take away these support programs such as Medicare and welfare, you start to see the struggle that the poor has to undergo just to survive. Oftentimes what happens is that they are working just to make ends meet, and the children cannot afford to take on other opportunities because they themselves have to work to help provide.
Thank you. Do you think you could tell me what existentialism is?
Yes. Existentialism is a philosophical movement that focuses on the uniqueness of each human individual. The movement was defined by Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher. He said that existence precedes essence, meaning that humans create themselves through free choices and are responsible for who they are.
And just a final question. Are you familiar with Marx's theory of alienation? If so, can you please explain what it is?
Yes, I am. Marx's theory of alienation is the contention that in modern industrial production, under capitalist conditions, workers will inevitably lose control of their lives by losing control over their work. Marx is saying that capitalism is in conflict with much of human nature, because human beings are not in charge of particular work processes, and free and thoughtful production would be the most authentic form of human existence.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
That's great.